Hello, all. For anyone who has an ear to listen, just a few points I wanted to bring up for you to think about. Number one, kind of coming out of the RNC convention, I don't know about many of you, but I felt inspired. I felt reacquainted and warmed by the Constitution, the country that we love, and the promise that our forefathers had instilled around this country for us to thrive in. I continue to be enthusiastic about how much further as a country we can go if we continue to support our president. I think we also were reminded and enforced the stark contrast between what we the people and our president are trying to do to reclaim our country back from a deep state nefarious body of people that have secretly been trying to take our country over and away from us, doing it in baby steps, doing it, leeching it away in a way for us not to realize what was happening until it was too late. I continue to think and believe that Trump's election last time around was not planned, it was not intended, and us putting him there, it has shaken their plan and is exposing them for what they are. I continue to believe that. I'm optimistic. I have every reason to be optimistic. I think we have every reason to be optimistic about what's coming with the forthcoming election. I do think no matter what happens, the chaos is going to increase between now and the election, and it's going to be, I think, pretty bad post the election. I think that the propaganda engine, the deep state, the nefarious people that have been trying to take over our country, I think they're making the population size of those people that are working against us is probably much smaller than reality. I don't think the body of people behind that is that big. I think they're making it seem bigger and wider than it really is my opinion. I feel pretty comfortable in saying that. It's much, much smaller than we realize. And so with that being said, once we win the election and the deep state, fights and pushes and creates as much chaos as possible to push it out till the inauguration, where the 20th Amendment will then supposedly step in and overturn and usurp everything that we the people are trying to do. I don't think it's going to last very long, I guess is my point. I think we the people will snuff it out in pretty short order. Now, if something nefarious, something crazy happens, that 1% chance that Trump legitimately doesn't win the election, I think that chaos post that will go a lot longer. But I just don't see that happening. Honestly, don't. So that was the one point I wanted to put out there. Felt extremely patriotic this week, listening to the normal people telling their stories. The few politicians that kind of came and told their story, it was fine. I think there are some out there that it warrants them being a part of the convention. But I thought those people that are more we the people representative, they really struck a chord with me. And then of course, Trump never disappoints. I thought his speech was just spot on, nailed it, really, again, struck a chord. I love his patriotism. I love his almost religious and biblical connection to our Constitution that founded this country and brought us to where we are today. That was it. So number two, I guess I got to touch on this whole racism thing. And I've made this point before, but for anybody that may not have seen it, I'm just going to try to summarize it real quickly. So I'm a military brat, as they say. My father was in the military for 20 years. So my younger years, all the way up to just before I went into high school, we were in the military. I was on military bases. And the idea of racism and division and all of those things which the left used to divide us, they didn't exist. Everyone all my schoolmates, all my classmates across the military base, those people that are in the military, there was absolutely I didn't know what racism was. I didn't know what division was. We all hung out together. We all laughed together. We all cried together. If you want to make that point, we all dated each other. So, I mean, race, religion, none of that mattered. It was just the person that you connected with, that you were friends with, that you loved. That's the way it was. And think about it. Why would that be? So the military is all about being as strong as you possibly can be, being a team, being one, being a family. And if you came into the military, if you came into the government with a racist attitude, that shit was weeded out. That was conditioned out of you. And that's the way it should be. That is a narrative only pushed to divide you. So anyway, for all those years, I didn't see color. I didn't see anything. I saw a person, and at all levels, I behaved that way. So when my father retired, I mean, he was from the South, from the North Carolina, South Carolina area. He moved back to his hometown, and only then did I start getting exposed to this. So you're now outside the government. You're now Joe Public, and racism becomes a point. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I had friends across the board, but it was frowned upon. I think I was brought up, and I was at that point in my maturity that my belief system was already well instilled. And so even though I then became aware of racism and what that was about, I didn't really abide by it. So I had friends on both sides of all of these equations. I had black friends, I obviously had white friends, I had friends across the board. So anyway, and it's because it is a tool to divide you. It is a tool to divide you. I know people across all races and religions and all that good stuff that are just as competent, if not more competent than I am. So all of these arguments that certain races are less than others is asinine. And I think any medical studies out there to reinforce this are basically paid players to enforce racism and division. And I think any laws and rules and affirmative action mechanisms that are in place to try to support this racial inequality and try to balance the playing field, it's not to that point. It's basically to drive racism and inequality. So I don't know. I think if you have, like I said in my intro, if you have an ear and you're open to thinking that, think about that. And try to move away from the emotional narrative that has been planted in you for so long. So that was number two. And then number three, I guess I got to put my perspective in there in the whole QAnon movement. And I don't live and breathe within the QAnon world, though I do pay attention to it. I do look at it. And anybody that think it's a hate group has not really been out there. So I go to the website QAnon.pub, and that's where you'll see it for yourself. Go look at it for yourself. Don't just listen to the media, which many people do. And if you go there, all the QAnon board does is ask questions. It poses questions that will direct you down certain paths for you to do your own research. The QAnon board shares tweets and media stories and pictures and all of this kind of stuff to get you to think, what is this? And for you to do your own research. So it doesn't do anything but ask questions, stimulate a question in your mind, something you may not have thought of before, for you to research yourselves. It shows pictures of stuff that kind of prove out certain ideas that you just need to go research. That's all it is. And any of the stuff that's really pushed around for people to look at, if you know what's out there, it should be everything that everyone should agree needs to go away. So be there. I mean, and there's a lot of Hollywood tweets that are socialized there that you may not have noticed before, and if you look at those tweets, you'll be like, that's screwed up. So I don't know, it amazes me how the media, how the deep state kind of propaganda engine can make everything so negative and turn people away. I mean, we're at war. There's a war between good and evil. They have the media outlets to kind of push those narratives, and I know it's very interesting. So that's my take on those 3 points. Like it or not, believe it or not, appreciate it or not. I think for those people that are taking a pause and saying, wait a minute, that's not right. I mean, there's a lot of Democrats that are coming to the right, and are supporting Trump that didn't support them in the beginning. And you've seen that during the RNC. There's Democrats that haven't changed their affiliation but are pro-Trump, and there are those that have changed their affiliation more formally. So that should tell you something. Anyway, I think they're losing. They know they're losing, and this is holy water being sprayed on them. And they're exposing them for what they are. So that's the kind of my figurative read on the whole thing. But would love to hear your comments and feedback. But that's my thoughts, and optimistic as always. Can't wait for the election. Can't wait for the next 4 years of our president to get behind what we want him to do, and really start bringing home the things that we've been waiting for so long. Talk to you guys soon.